Start out with taking one of our whole birds here and showing how we can break this down. Now you can actually break this down before you actually brine it, and actually the brine will get into the meat even a little bit better. I just happen to do them whole this time, but either way is acceptable. There's not really a right or wrong way to do it. But I guess we'll start out with more of our traditional 8-cut chicken and taking this chicken and breaking it down to a true 8-cut. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is remove your tail. Take your tail off. Okay, then on the bird, you're going to want to go ahead and pull your legs off and thighs. So you want to cut it right between your breastbone, your breast meat, and your thigh. Then you're just going to go ahead and give it a flip right back here. You're going to pop the joint out on the chicken so you know you're cutting it in the right place. It's going to come right through here, and it should come off in one easy swipe. That there is going to be what would be considered a traditional leg quarter, which is going to be your thigh and your leg attached. Now to make an 8-cut, we're actually going to make one more cut on that, and that's going to be splitting out your thigh and your leg, and you're going to cut it right between the bone. If you get it just right, you get it right where the cartilage is where the two bones meet, and that's where you want to cut it, and it should cut fairly easily. If you go too far up on the drumstick or too far down on the thigh, you're going to catch solid bone. It's going to be very difficult to cut, so you just need to find that one spot where it kind of just cuts very easily. It shouldn't be a hard cut to make, okay? So that's going to be your thigh, that's going to be your leg, okay? Then we're going to go ahead and get the other side, do the same thing, turning the bird around. Again, you're trying to cut it right between the seam between the thigh and the breast. The key here is you want to make sure the skin, you pull it back enough on the breast that you don't lose all the skin on the breast or on the thigh. You want that skin to be equally distributed, because for the cooking process of the meat, that skin really becomes very important as far as adding flavor and retaining moisture on the chicken in the cooking process. So you want to make sure you keep some skin on both the breast as well as on the thigh and the legs. So you want to be conscious of that when you're cutting your chicken. Again, you just want to pop the joint out. You want to go ahead, come back here, cut your chicken right where you popped it. Sorry, it's not going smooth. Or am I hitting it wrong? Okay, let's try that again. You ready? You're going to cut right along there. You're going to separate out your leg quarter again from your leg quarter. We're going to do the same thing. Make our cut right here between your thigh and your leg. There's your second thigh. There's your second leg. Okay. Let's flip it back over again. Now you got your breast, your backbone, and your two wings. So the first thing we want to do at this point, I think, is take our wings off. Again, you want to cut them right at the joint where they meet the bird. Okay, they should come off fairly easily. Trim it back just a little bit. There's your leg. Now, some people like to leave the wings whole. I personally like to clip this bone off here, because this bone really doesn't do a whole lot. There's nothing that you're really going to eat on here meat-wise. I think this makes for a nice clean bone. But either way is acceptable. There's not a right or a wrong. The other thing you get on the wing tip is this has a tendency to burn on you, and it will add a burnt flavor to the whole smoking process. So I guess that's why I'm probably a little more conscious of taking it off. But again, that's a personal preference. There's not really a right or a wrong. So there's your chicken wing. We'll do the same thing to the other side. Again, just get it right in the joint, right between the bone. Should come right off like so. Make your other cut right between this joint. And there's your second wing. If you want to, you can even cut this wing off and have your little drummy, and you can have your separate piece. The reason I don't want to do that is I want these pieces to all be fairly uniform in size, because what I'm trying to do is I want to make sure these cook at the same time frame. So we want everything to be ready at the same time. If I had a lot of little pieces and some big pieces, the little ones are going to be done before the big pieces, and that can become an issue. We don't want to do that. We want to be very conscious of making sure we're very uniform just with our sizing of the chicken. Okay, now we're looking at our breasts. So we want to get our breasts off here, but the first thing I want to do is I want to remove my backbone. So to do that is I'm going to take the breast side, place it down, so I have my back up. Okay, I'm going to go to the cavity of the bird, and the bones kind of stop right here. So we're going to cut right where the bones stop and separate that out. Okay, and all we're going to do, those bones are very, very fragile. They cut fairly easy. You do need a sharp knife, but you see how easy that comes off. All I'm doing really is removing that backbone. I'm taking that backbone totally off, like so, okay? This backbone is excellent for any soup or stock or anything in the world of. Don't throw this out. Definitely you can roast it in the oven with some carrots, onions, celery. You can make a little stock out of it by adding some water and just letting it roast in the oven. You'll make some of the best chicken broth to make chicken soup that you'd ever want. So don't throw this out. It really is a good piece of meat. I wouldn't necessarily recommend barbecuing it, but it's excellent for soups and stews and that kind of thing. So we'll go ahead and put that off to the side. Now we're looking at just our breast. Now I do want to clean this up just a little bit because I left a little bit more backbone than I wanted. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and clean a little bit of that off, like so. Okay. And now we want to split our breast. This is a double breast. Obviously, this is a much bigger piece of meat than the other cuts we're looking at. Again, we're going for more uniformity. So you want to split right down the middle of your breast. Again, the trick on this is not letting the skin, you want a nice sharp knife so the skin comes off real easily. And you just make one strong cut with your knife like so, by pushing down on it. It should cut pretty easily right through the middle. That would be your standard 8-cut chicken. Now this is a thicker piece of meat, but you need to understand this is the breast meat, which is a very lean piece of meat, so it doesn't need to cook as long. You just need to cook it to an internal temperature of about 165, but you can do that fairly quickly because, again, with that extra moisture from the brining process, what it does is it actually cooks your meat quicker. Because of that extra moisture in the meat, when that moisture gets hot, it actually gets the internal temperature up much faster than it would just normally on its own. So again, it will help in quickening the cooking process as well. But basically, that would be considered your standard 8-cut chicken.